Welcome to today's Nicaragua webinar entitled The Evolution of Education in Nicaragua. I will now repeat this in Spanish. Saludos a todas y todos. Bienvenidos al seminario web de Nicaragua de hoy, titulado La Evolución de Educación en Nicaragua. Before we start, let's make sure everyone can access interpretation if you need it. Please look at the bottom of your screen and find the interpretation button. It has a globe icon. Click on interpretation and then select the language that you want to hear. I will now say this in Spanish also. Antes de empezar, vamos a asegurarnos de que todo el mundo puede acceder a la interpretación si la necesita. Busque en la parte inferior de la pantalla el botón Interpretación con el icono del globo. Haga clic en Interpretación y seleccione el idioma que desea escuchar. Starting now, I will speak only in English with gratitude to our two interpreters, Jill Clark-Golub and Camilo Mejia. My name is Barbara Larkham, and I'll serve as co-moderator today along with Nan McCurdy. We are honored to hear from two speakers from Nicaragua's Ministry of Education. We will introduce them in a few minutes. We want to thank Yoav Elenevsky, who is providing our technical support, and our many organizational co-sponsors who are being listed now in the chat. The webinars each month are hosted by the Nicaragua Solidarity Coalition. Before we start, we have a few requests and announcements. You will see several buttons available at the bottom of your screen. One button is for closed captions. It's marked CC. Just click if you want to turn that on. Also, feel free to use the chat function to offer comments throughout this event. But if you have a question for the speakers, please don't put your question in the chat, or we may not see it. Instead, click the Q&A button and place your question there. We'll select your questions from the Q&A to pose to our speakers after their presentations. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent to all registrants within the next few days. When it's ready, it will also be posted at nicasolidarity.net and on the YouTube channel of Nicaragua Solidarity Coalition. If you'd like to become more active in supporting Nicaragua's sovereignty and opposing foreign interference there, please join the International Nicaragua Solidarity Coalition. You can check the website regularly at nicasolidarity.net. Also, please put your name and email address in the Q&A if you'd like to receive action alerts, the weekly newsletter, and monthly meeting notices. We meet on the second Monday of each month at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The next meeting is on Monday, March 11th. To save as much time as possible for this program, we will enter some other information in the chat about other ways that you can get involved or learn more about Nicaragua. The format for today's 90-minute webinar is the following. First, we'll hear from Nan McCurdy with current news briefs from Nicaragua. Then, after our featured speakers, the remaining time will be for questions and answers. And now to introduce Nan McCurdy. Nan is the editor of the online weekly Nica Notes, published by the Alliance for Global Justice. Nan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Barbara, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. Some 400,000 residents of the North and South autonomous regions on the Caribbean coast are eligible to vote in the regional elections to be held this March 3rd, so right around the corner. There are 15 districts in each of the autonomous regions where 45 councilwomen and councilmen will be elected with their respective alternate. Nicaragua is known for its gender equity in its elections. The parties and alliances participating are the Constitutionalist Liberal Party, Alianza Frente Sandinista, so the FSLN, which is an alliance of 9 parties, the Partido Alianza Liberal Nicaragüense, Partido Alianza por la República, APRE, and Alianza del Partido Liberal Independiente, made up of 2 parties. Each political party or alliance is proposing 3 council people for each constituency. So the next time we meet, we'll be talking about the results of this important election. If you haven't already heard, on February 2nd, the Nicaragua government stated that several countries are co-responsible for the genocide in Gaza, including the United Kingdom, Germany, the Netherlands, and Canada. The Nicaraguan government urged these governments to immediately stop the supply of arms, ammunition, technology, and/or components to Israel, since it is plausible that they have been or will be used to facilitate or commit violations of the Genocide Convention. The statement added, Nicaragua has given written notice to these governments that it will adopt all measures it considers appropriate in accordance with international law, including recourse to the International Court of Justice to guarantee respect for these fundamental international texts and customary international law. We're very proud of Nicaragua. A report from the Nicaragua Institute for Urban and Rural Housing, which is known as INVUR, on the 2023 Casas para el Pueblo low-cost housing program states that 7,952 homes were built in 2023 for a total of 138,628 low-cost homes built over the last 16 years, contributing to a major reduction of the housing deficit. More good news. In the framework of World Cancer Day this February 4th, the Ministry of Health shared some of its achievements in the last 16 years, including a 34% reduction in cervical cancer mortality between 2007 and 2023. There are currently 7 chemotherapy centers around the country. 23 pathology laboratories are equipped for timely diagnosis of cancer, unlike in 2006 when there were only 5 labs. There are now 105 specialized clinics nationwide for the early detection and treatment of cervical cancer. In 2006, there was only 1. In 2023, the Ministry of Health reported 1,200,670 studies for the early detection of cervical cancer, 6 times more than in 2006. Likewise, 87,149 mammograms were performed last year to identify breast cancer in a timely manner. In 2006, only 50 mammograms were performed. The scholarship program offered by the National Autonomous University of Nicaragua in Managua received a financial increase, which will allow it to increase scholarships for 1,200 first-year students. These are very special scholarships that include housing, food, books, transportation, and more. The director of the scholarship department, Francisco Ruiz, explained that students who apply for special academic, housing, food, or transportation scholarships, and who meet the requirements will be guaranteed them. He went on to say, the scholarship program was born with the Sandinista Popular Revolution in 1980, with the objective of helping the sons and daughters of workers and peasants who want to study and who needed to travel from distant places to the capital and have a place to stay, in addition to having a free and quality education. In 2024, more than 500,000 young people will study or are already studying a technical education in 61 specialized centers throughout the country. Today, there are courses available in all 153 municipalities, compared to only 27 in 2007. Finally, more than 246,000 high school graduates have entered public and private higher education so far in 2024. Said Ramona Rodriguez, who is the president of the National Council of Universities, CNU, we are growing by more than 60,000 young people a year who are entering university. That is why 2024 marks a milestone in the history of higher education because of the free education decreed by the government, with no fees, no tuition payments, or other charges that used to be required. In a few moments, you will hear much more about education in Nicaragua. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nan. And now we turn to our two featured speakers. To help our interpreters, I'm reminding our presenters to speak at a normal pace, not too fast, and also to speak slightly slower if you are reading, because people tend to read faster than they speak. Our first speaker is Juan Salvador Mendez Torres. He earned a bachelor's degree in law and a master's degree in constitutional law and public policy, with postgraduate study in management and political work and local development. He has served for 15 years as a public servant in Nicaragua's Ministry of Education and is a member of its board of directors. Welcome, Mr. Mendez Torres. You have the floor.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much to everyone for being with us for this important webinar. If I may, I'm going to try to share screen. Can you see my presentation? Perfect, thank you. First of all, I would like to begin this dialogue with you starting from the premise that there is no disconnect between our politics or policies rather in education. We always have said that education is a political act, not partisan as to whether or not it is part of political affiliation, but rather as we are one of the countries, nation states, and how we conceive of education within the national context. Therefore, there are examples under which governments consider education to be a privilege, a commercial good, and there are other models counterposed to this that consider education to be a human right, and so much so that it is guaranteed, access to education is guaranteed to everyone. In our view, in the view of the National Government of Unity and Reconciliation under Comandante Daniel Ortega and our Vice President Rosario Murillo, education is viewed as a human right. We have a right to it. That is to say, each and every Nicaraguan citizen has a right to this. And to explain this model, we would like to show you the route that we have followed towards developing education in Nicaragua from 2007 when the people, as president, under the leadership of Comandante Daniel, came back into office, and we'll go from that date until now. And so I'm going to share with you some of the progress that we have made over these years. We don't have enough time to go into detail on everything that's been accomplished. As I said, we start from the understanding that education is a right, a human right, and a priority of our government. And this leads to other this is different from other approaches in which they prioritize individualism and personal profit over the common good, and promotes competitiveness, and in which the strongest win. Our approach is complementarity, under which all of us can support each other and we all have something to contribute. The economic and political model that promotes the accumulation of wealth without any limits is contrasted to our approach, which looks for a redistribution of wealth. Therefore, our national human development plan to fight poverty has the two pillars that will help us achieve full human development of each and every Nicaraguan. Within that human development plan and fight against poverty, obviously, a fundamental role is played in terms of educating each and every Nicaraguan. So the first government decree when Comandante Daniel came back into office on January 11th, 2007, was to declare that education is a human right and that it will be free of charge for each and every Nicaraguan. In this way, the first decree of 2007, issued on January 11th, said that education would be free of charge for everyone. What did we find when we came into office in 2007? We found that the entire educational system had been dismantled in order to promote private schools. And there was complete abandonment of public education. And this was according to a very clear policy. If I take resources away from public education, the quality of education suffers. And this was channeled into private education, a sector of society that had access to it. And this created a disparity. And within the collective imagination, this meant that private people thought that private schools were better than public schools, and this had a perverse effect of eliminating public education. So in 2006, we found an educational system that just had a bit more than 49,000 teachers throughout the country. In 2024, we now have more than 60,000 trained teachers who get in-service training throughout the year with pedagogical and instructional training in order to improve their teaching. And we found a rather perverse situation in 2006. Almost half of our teachers, 47% of them, were empirical teachers. What does this mean? This means that they were not trained as teachers, but rather they were some individuals who might have had some math skills, for example, and they would be assigned to teach math. And maybe they did well in high school in language and literature, so then they were to teach Spanish and literature. So almost half of our teachers did not have the necessary professional skills to really perform well in the classroom. Now, 99.8% of our teachers are professionally trained as teachers. In other words, we have virtually eradicated the figure of empirical teachers. We have a model of inclusion, and these 99% of our trained teachers, this was done including those who initially were empirical teachers. In other words, eradicating the figure of empirical teachers does not mean that we got rid of people who have had a vocation for teaching. And that is the most important thing in our view, to have a vocation as a teacher. So we began to have training and professional instructions for those who were teaching in the classroom. The very small 0.2% of empirical teachers are now approaching the retirement age. I mean, it was found that they should not get into professional training, but we are still working to raise awareness that they should still try to grow professionally and get training. Another thing we found in 2006 was that there were no principals who had been trained to lead a school. In many cases, you just took a teacher who people believed had more respect in the community and more years of experience, and this person would be given the job of leading the school. But none of those people were really trained to administer or to lead education at a school. We had more than 8,500 principals now who have been strengthened in terms of educational and school management. So they now have the professional tools to carry out the job of leading a school. We have 8,500 out of some 9,000 schools throughout the country. And so you can see that we have taken a tremendous leap forward in improving the professional training of our teachers and principals to ensure high quality learning for the boys and girls of Nicaragua. By the same token, we found in 2006 that there virtually were no textbooks that were really useful as tools for helping teachers teach. In 2023, we can now say that teachers and students have received more than 20 million textbooks on a variety of subjects, as well as teachers' guides for teachers to do their work. We've also updated our curricula, and we know that we have some strict subject, which is math, literature, geography, science. And now we have a curriculum that includes comprehensive development of human beings. And so we see our role in education to be that of ensuring that all of the boys and girls that pass through our classrooms should come out as better human beings. And we also achieve the full human development of these young people. And so we look at cognitive growth, and we include in our curriculum some subjects such as values education. We believe that it is fundamental for people to grow in terms of knowledge and also in terms of values. Education that simply prioritizes knowledge for the sake of knowledge will lead a person to be poor in values, and they will not know how to apply this knowledge to situations. They're aligned with a society that is committed to ethics. So in our curriculum, we've included chess as like science and sports to enable children to develop other cognitive abilities, to develop the ability to concentrate, to be responsible, to have a sense of belonging. And we have included within our curriculum English as a second language as well. Previously, we only talked about English in secondary school, and it was at a very basic level. Now we have English starting at the first year of primary school, and we follow the standards of the Common European Framework. And this has enabled us over the last 2 years to have the first graduating classes from sixth grade with children who've studied English as a second language. Another thing is very important for us, and that is that Nicaragua is working very hard to achieve gender equity. And in fact, this is part of our national standards. And this cannot be disconnected from our educational system. So within our current curriculum, we have subjects on the rights and dignity of women. And this is a cross-cutting subject, but it also has a specific allotment within our curriculum, but we believe it is very important to bring about a change in culture by raising awareness amongst all of our population about these rights and the dignity that women should enjoy. Starting in 2018, we've begun to also implement what we call the Early Childhood Development Model, using the acronym MEIDI, which is for very young children, those in first, second, and third grade, because we believe that it is fundamental before first grade. So we're talking here about preschool. It is very important for our children in early childhood to develop several schools. And MEID includes not only cognitive skills, but also emotional intelligence and social skills in order to prepare our children uh, for the entire school cycle. And international research tells us that children that have early childhood education are better prepared, have better skills, and better assimilate what is taught to them in primary and intermediate education than those who do not have this. Also, as we were saying, human beings are at the center of our model. So starting in 2015, throughout the country, we established what we call the Educational Community Advisory Boards. And this seeks to get 246,968 people involved, including teachers, students, parents, and they give guidance regarding how to strengthen the values that I was just talking about, and also to develop social and emotional skills within the school, and to foster a culture of peace amongst the entire educational community, and for everyone to be aware of human rights and care for life in all of its forms. Starting in 2017, as I said, we had included learning and playing chess as part of the third grade curriculum. And we also have this big chess competition with several students throughout the country playing chess simultaneously, involved in what we call this scientific sport. Now,
and we have a little bit more than 2,000 students in this sport. We say and we repeat it, human beings have multiple dimensions for development. One of them is cognitive, but to develop the full potential, it is important to realize that to consider all dimensions of people. One of them is the artistic dimension, which has to do with its aspirations, with its desires, with their dreams. When we go from an education which had eliminated all artistic sense, emotional, cultural of our students, to today having more than 8,000 student choirs formed at the educational center level. We have more than 100 Rubén Darío choirs nationally, with the participation of a little bit more than 214,000 boys and girls who are developing and promoting the strengthening the pride of being Nicaraguan, the recognition of our culture, our artistic talents. Likewise, we have started more than 45 student symphony orchestras have been formed with the participation of 1,541 girls and boys, eight student bands with 472 students from the normal schools of higher learning. Starting in 2021, the creation of school gardens in educational centers was created as a way to achieve two things. One, to develop the knowledge and the capacity among students of some mechanism and elements to develop as a way to guarantee food sovereignty amongst our families for boys and girls through the creation of school gardens to teach them to grow basic foods, and it helps them in their schools. Right now, we have a little bit more than 7,000 school gardens per year. English is a second language. As I was saying before, the teaching was very basic on English learning, which we consider to be a necessary language in this global world. Therefore, from 2018 to 2024, we have advanced in terms of English as a second language in primary and secondary education. Also, we are serving more than 400,000 students from first to sixth grade and a little more than 38,000 multi-grade elementary students. We have given textbooks to teachers and students to support them and have strengthened the skills of almost 2,000 regular elementary school teachers and 200 multi-grade elementary school teachers and more than 300 secondary school teachers who are actually teaching English as a second language. This is a very important subject. We have transformed our schools, our normal schools. Before 2007, the neoliberal system had practically destroyed education in normal schools, which were schools where teachers are trained, have become secondary education institutes. Before there was no education. Today, in 2007, we recovered 8 normal schools that we had to teach students, teachers, and we have advanced to create superior education schools. In the last few years, teachers have the option to get a bachelor's degree in education with 4 specialties: bachelor's in superior education on child development, pedagogical mediation, bachelor's in multi-grade education, and bachelor's in intercultural education. Therefore, there's no way to reach the quality of teaching if we don't train and form our teachers in the abilities, didactic and pedagogical, to improve themselves. Today, we have teachers with these specific specialties to help also several modalities in inclusivity. We also have strengthened in mathematics and reading, because not only children must learn to read and write, they also must learn to comprehend. If we're not able to help them understand the reading, they'll be able to read 20, 30 pages, but they won't necessarily will be understand the meaning and the message of what they are reading. Therefore, the ability to go from the abstract to full knowledge requires reading comprehension, and that is what we're doing right now. Beginning on 2022, we have implemented a strategy national to strengthen the learning in reading comprehension, oral and written, to strengthen communication and linguistic skills in the Spanish language. As far as math, which is always a taboo, not just in Nicaragua, but in many countries, we went from simple learning in math to what we call conflict resolution, so that our boys and girls can learn through mathematics to resolve conflicts. And we call it National Strategy of Math, which develops several strategies for children to lose the fear that may have to learn mathematics, and so that they find it enjoyable and fun. And we have implemented several strategies that we implement every year. Fairs, where the focus is problem solving using mathematics. It's also very important for us in this world that we live today, technology. We went from a model that was completely disconnected in our education centers, where we only had about 42 centers, to 638 education centers by 2023, which have access to internet. From only 42 centers nationally, which had some kind of technological equipment in 2006, we have gone to 2,351 educational centers, which now have technological equipment, including 100% of secondary schools. 100 secondary schools have internet connection and technological equipment to learn. We have trained more than 25,000 teachers in the Mastery of Digital Tools to be integrated into the educational process. We have also worked with tablets and computers in what we call mobile classrooms, digital classrooms, which brings technology into educational centers. It's very important for rehabilitation and for education for them to have dignified educational centers. A model which had abandoned school infrastructure. Schools were destroyed, had no windows, they had no rooftops. Children sat on the floor, to now go into a process of constant identification of school assets. Therefore, today we have improved and rehabilitated and rebuilt a little bit more than 6,800 educational centers, providing better learning environments. In 2007, we found more than 27,000 destroyed and dilapidated classrooms. Today, we have rehabilitated more than 36,000 classrooms, delivered more than 1.2 million new and repaired desks. If you look on the internet, the history of Nicaragua before 2006, you're going to find images and videos of children carrying their desks from home to the school so that they could sit in school. We have eradicated that situation. Today, every child has a desk, a dignified classroom. We're constantly working on infrastructure schools for our boys and girls. We have built 8,200 complementary environments, rehabilitated and built, including sports fields, libraries, technology classrooms, warehouses, kitchens, thanks to our revolutionary government. We call this complementary environment, which are necessary in the school environment. Together with teachers, students, and families, actions are developed to strengthen the sense of belonging. What does that mean? It means that teachers and students and families must feel the school as a part of their property, something that belongs to them and that they belong to. And we develop that with students, culture to take care of things, to support education. And we're implementing a promotion of values, which we call LES, which means pretty, clean, and safe schools, where students, families, and teachers, from their own reality, make a commitment to promote their students and their schools to be clean, to be clean and pretty and safe, where our boys and girls can learn and develop their learning in a happy school of solidarity and where they want to be in school. We have also accompanied the protagonists and their families in their schools. There's a school program known as a school snack program, which guarantees school lunches to all students in primary education. Before our government, we were giving them a glass of milk, and the liberal government, that crucial program was eradicated under neoliberal governments. They excluded the lunch because they said that school was to learn, not to eat. And so they ignored the importance of the school lunch in the learning process. Therefore, as we're looking at education as a human right, we have a little bit more than 845,000 students who receive more than 1.2 million lunches, and we're improving this program. Between 2007 and 2023, more than 8 million solidarity school packages have been delivered. What does that mean? It means that, aware of the importance of children being in the classroom, a boy or girl cannot, due to socioeconomic issues, will not go to school because they don't have the ability to buy a backpack or pencils or notebooks. The government right now has guaranteed those supplies, the book bags and the main supplies that the students need, so that they, in that complementation and alliance between parents and the school, children can go to school. Beginning in 2014, we have created more than 60,000 school bags with supplies, which have been delivered to teachers, which is fundamental for education. In addition to their salary increases, which was very, very little. And we have given them all the tools that they need for their jobs. We're guaranteeing every teacher a package with the basic tools to be able to really develop their mediation in pedagogy. Beginning in 2018, as a way to recognize the efforts of students in their development, their academic development, our president, Comandante Daniel, and Compañera Rosario, have started the Solidarity Bonus to promote graduation, which went from 300 Cordobas to a bonus of 3,000 Cordobas to each and every one of the boys and girls who graduate from high school, as a way to recognize that effort in education, and also to support the family in promote to transition their students from secondary education to university education.
In 2007, as I said before, we inherited a model that was called school autonomy. This was just that the state ignored or rejected its responsibility for education and transferred that to the family. In 2007, we transferred to a model of high quality, free of charge public education. And we now have 1.8 million students enrolled in school. And now, in terms of the school retention rate, this is just to make sure that children do attend school and stay in school. It was at 69.5% in 2006, and now it is 92.7%. Boys and girls who stay in school. We have also expanded the coverage of care for children between 3 to 5 years of age. This is what I was talking to you about before, initial or early childhood education. Previously, it covered just about 53.6%, so almost half of the kids were not in school, and now 67.1% of children are in preschool. So, and that figure continues to grow. as what I was talking to you about with the MEDI system, we continue to work day in and day out to raise awareness amongst families about the importance of enrolling their children in preschool. And there is another major challenge we have faced, which is delays in learning in the countryside. In some cases, kids previously everyone had an average of getting up to sixth grade, and in some of the rural areas there wasn't even any option. For some families, they might be able to stay with the family member to a larger city to be able to continue with secondary education, and if that aspiration could not be met, they could only reach sixth grade. And there were nothing offered to families to offer education to that sector of the population. Starting in 2006, we created the modality of primary to secondary school distance learning. So we believe that the right to education is a right to be enjoyed by each and every Nicaraguan. And we did not want to expand the agricultural frontier or force the rural population to migrate to the cities. Rather, we wanted to bring education to their communities where these students live in rural areas. And so starting in 2014, we created secondary school remote learning in the countryside with 15,643 students. In 2023, enrollment had increased to 84,644 students, and almost 50,000 students have graduated from high school through this modality, children who did not have that option at all previously. And also for young people in rural communities, in 2023, we have what we called vocational education under agriculture and entrepreneurship. This sought to teach these young people the skills that they needed to work and give them other skills and knowledge, which would allow them to work within their communities. And in 2023, we had the vocational training program on agricultural and entrepreneurship skills. 78,000 students participated in these courses, and 58,766 took specialized vocational courses, and 24,000 learned techniques and agricultural technology to enable them to work in their own communities. We have developed other online courses in which people could learn other skills. We worked hand in hand with our national police, and we also have the secondary school, the online secondary school, named for Georgino Andrade. And this enables young people to connect and do an online high school in order to be trained in this field. In 1979, with the triumph of the Sandinista Revolution, one of the major endeavors of our revolution was the National Literacy Crusade. This allowed so many people in the countryside and cities to learn to read. Starting in 1990, when the neoliberal governments came into office, our illiteracy rose to 22%. In 2007, we saw a need to once again have a national literacy crusade, which was called the Martí to Fidel National Literacy Campaign. And once again, we brought illiteracy down to 4%. And Nicaragua was declared to be illiteracy free when in 2009 when we reached that figure. Another very important topic for the entire educational system is to link all of the various levels and systems of education in the country. We inherited a completely uncoordinated, unlinked system. So the Ministry of Education had a system of education that was completely disconnected from technical training, which we're going to hear from the other speaker today, and also completely disconnected from university and higher education. For example, there was a profile of students. Just to give you an example, in math, we had a basic and mid-level curriculum, but the university had a math exam uh, that was aligned with its own university. For example, the engineering university, the math exam was designed uh, according to the engineering curriculum. If it was a university that had degrees in humanities such as law and social sciences, their exams were linked to those subjects. So the public education system for children really set up these children for failure when they try to access higher education, because what they were taught in high school was completely disconnected from the skills they needed to succeed in college. And so we saw that there was a disconnect there, and we've now been able to link the Ministry of Education with the National Council of Universities and the National Technical Institute. And all of these, we also have the autonomous regions of the Caribbean coast of our country with the SEAR, and they were also brought into the system. And this enables us to follow up on educational subjects and work in coordination. We went from having a system that did not pay any attention to educational research and basically did nothing, to a situation in which, as of today, we've achieved or completed more than 1,500 research projects and publications in education. We have a journal called Revista Índice, which publishes our research on education, because we believe that in order to improve the quality of our instructors, they must continuously be involved in study, research, and publications on their field.
Excuse me? Um, this is your 4-minute warning. We're running close on time. So we're asking you then to complete your presentation within about 4 more minutes. Thank you.
I'll do it in 4 minutes or less. I was just saying that one of the many achievements, and I have discussed this with our people organizing the webinar, and we're saying that the challenge was to try to explain the many advances we've made in such a short period of time. But I have said that we have managed to set aside the figure of empirical teachers. Our teachers are all now professional. And we've also changed from having children just learn very basic schools, but to enable them to learn so that they can launch their own activities and also have the full human development and prosper. We've also introduced teaching English as a second language. We also have teleclasses or teleeducation, and we provide a reinforcement of their skills. We also have a network of researchers. We've created the Índice platform, which, as I mentioned, this is where we publish our research. And we have an annual festival of publications and other activities. And I will wrap up with this here. It is important to see that in 2006, the Ministry of Education have a budget of just 3,869 million Cordobas. In 2024, the budget for education under our good government is 17.214 billion Cordobas. As you can see, the level of commitment that Comandante Daniel and Compañero Rosario's government have, moving from 3.8 billion to 17 billion. This is what is now being spent on education. In terms of school infrastructure, it moved from a budget of just 648 million Cordobas to more than 1.284 billion Cordobas. And so we've seen the rebuilding of so many schools, the upgrading of them, and providing technology in order to improve the quality of education of our children and ensuring that they're in a setting that is dignified for their learning. So there is so much more that we could discuss. Time is our enemy when we have so much to say, which is true when you talk about education in Nicaragua. It could take us days and years. We say that development is not possible unless we educate our boys and girls. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm just amazed and inspired by everything that has happened, all of the achievements over the past years. I knew some of this was going on, but wow, there is so much more that you've shared with all of us. Thank you so much. Okay, now I am pleased to introduce our second speaker, Maria Esmeralda Aguilar Gutiérrez, the Deputy Director for Vocational Training at Nicaragua's National Technical Institute, INATEC. She has over 14 years' experience in education, previously serving as Director and Deputy Director of Technology Centers and as the head of INATEC's Curriculum Design Department. She holds a master's degree in education with diplomas in teacher training, soft skills, and educational leadership. Maria Esmeralda Aguilar Gutierrez, we look forward to your presentation, and you have the floor.
During these new days of life, hope, development, and challenges faced by humanity and the peoples of the world, what we need to do is work for peace. Education is a very important link in building development, peace. These are the words of Comandante Daniel Ortega Saavedra, the President of the Republic of Nicaragua. It is a pleasure, brothers and sisters, to share with you the transformation process that education and technical training have undergone in Nicaragua under the National Technical and Technological Institute of Nicaragua and in charge of technical training in Nicaragua. These are changing times. We have been evolving and moving forward. Education has been a priority of the Sandinista National Front and was set forth in its historic program of the Sandinista Front since 1980. This milestone and act of love was carried out through the National Literacy Crusade, in which thousands of us brothers and sisters moved throughout our territory to teach other people how to read and write and to take our brothers and sisters by the hand, leading them out of darkness. So we have always had a policy under our governments to move forward and make progress by devoting resources to education. And after 16 years of neoliberal governments and privatized education and an educational system that was siloed and did not really have a focus on public education, it was only starting in 2007 that the national government of Unity and Reconciliation reinstated the right to education at all levels. Here I'm talking about basic and intermediate education, technical education, and higher education. And in particular, from INATEC, we have been moving forward with education for work and life, education through various educational programs. And in this, we're referring to technical education, technical training, because this helps bring about human development and fight poverty, which is one of the key elements that we are working on in order to bring about our progress and development.
We are centered on the person, the family, the community. It's important that in education, it's not only the protagonist that's involved, but also the family, the context, the territory. From this perspective, education has evolved. Technical education, technological education has evolved in a formative process, a model based on professional competency, based on a theoretical and practical education model from the quality, from the warmth. These elements are so essential in this neoliberal government's technical education was unachievable for many families in Nicaragua. To study a technical career in a technological institute was an ideal that was not within the grasp of Nicaraguan families because it was privatized, because you had to pay the registration, because you had to pay for certain practical activities. They had to have cash to be able to carry out the processes of education. If they didn't pay, they could not be protagonists. They could not take tests, be evaluated, go through the different educational evaluative processes. It was based in a capitalist economic system. Beginning in 2007, the principle of free education strengthens the national educational system and focuses on the quality, the human worth, which is very important when we are in different scenarios, whether it's education or in any other space. The issue of human warmth, how we treat each other, how we develop ourselves in an important societies, and as a principle which my fellow presenters shared is that our model was disbanded. Talking about the national education system, in 2014, the national education system was installed, and from there, the National Education Commission was born, which was preoccupied with the progress and the evolution and transformation of education in Nicaragua. Not only talking about the basic education or only technical education or superior education, but aiming specifically at the transformation with links between the Ministry of Education, INATEC, the system of universities, all aligned with each link guaranteeing, harmonizing certain education programs, creating conditions for evaluating learning systems, looking at the connection of the offering for education and how that can have a continuity of education for our students are presented with different options, talking about different subjects like innovation for teachers, how to transform and how to contribute to education. That is born with the National Education Commission in 2014 under a decree by our good government to harmonize everything related to education and to transform education. Besides that, the articulation with different government institutions, talking from the INATEC about the national system of production, consumption and commerce, creative economy. These are key elements for education and the capacity building in Nicaragua of teachers, given that our formative offer has different qualities in terms of professionalism. And from there, we see the essence of how to harmonize, how to articulate with our institutions dedicated to search, agriculture, focus on contributing to small and mid-sized businesses to transform a product. The creative economy, how do we articulate and how do we coordinate in a joint manner, always looking for alternatives for the Nicaraguan families. looking at options so that these small businesses can transform themselves and transcend and can reassert themselves according to the context. Likewise, in this model of joint work, we coordinate with INIFOM, with mayors, offices of citizens, power, with territorial and district teams across the entire country, educational programs which have an impact, which contribute to the development of capacity of Nicaraguan families, and how to dynamize the economy of a territory through education, through capacity building in technology, in certain labor sectors, which generate entrepreneurship and which contribute to the development of the territory because it designs an educational program that is tailored to the needs. Therefore, we also share from 31 technology centers to 61 technology centers nationally. There we can see how we have investing resources, how we have been identifying spaces for learning to advance, to strengthen, to guarantee technical education that is free and of high quality and with human warmth. From 31 technological centers to 61, we expanded national coverage. We were teaching on average 17,000 Nicaraguans who paid for education, who paid for their capacity as professionals. Today, from this year, we are helping more than 500,000 protagonists per year. So there was a great imbalance. Why? Because our government is preoccupied with continuing contributing, bringing out of darkness the Nicaraguan families, training them with different workshops, different educational programs. They were teaching 26 municipalities in the country. Today is at 153 municipalities. We are all over the territory working with different local actors, and this is the greatness of our government, the greatness of these education policies which have been developed to strengthen the capacities of Nicaraguan families. Our offering training, for instance, goes from 19 to 70 technical careers in the various sectors such as production, commerce, services, agriculture, forestry, industrial, building, construction, a very diversified offer with a high level of professional qualifications. It's very important to mention that the training offer from these 19 careers that were offered in 2006, they were not tailored to the potential of development of the country. And so a training offer X, which was paid, did not meet the needs of the territory, was not focused on creating an educational program for the productive sector within that particular sector, which might say we need as many welders or veterinarians, etc. No, it was not in alignment. In 2014, INATEC begins a transformation process of curricula, and from there, the education begins to evolve, to focus on human development, to develop capacities and skills and the equipment of different technological centers and everything needed for the productive and economical locality. This is the result of the articulation with production sectors, public and private institutions, businesses, small and mid-sized producers, growers, who converge and that INATEC installs technical tables to identify the labor need of each territory. What are their potentials, and looking 4 or 5 years ahead. That's where the educational programs are born that we have today. They're born out of the necessity of each territory. Therefore, that is the impact and the strength of education, technical education, which comes contributing to develop skills. Also it makes our economy more dynamic. It takes a protagonist, a young person, an adult, is now offered to learn vocational profession for job post that is in high demand, which allows, well, it has several angles. Educational continuity in our free education system also helps people have their own business, because our educational program also help with entrepreneurship, with creativity, with innovation, but also it perfectly can help people start their businesses, and they can give continuity to their formation. It's also important for us, the potential on economy. It's also part of our national fight against poverty. These productive bonuses that are strengthening, and that we, from the education and technical capacity building and technological capacity building, are the offers to respond to the development of each locality, the economic development, and in that way we can contribute to the national level to that
Excuse me.
human development. Disculpen. Disculpen.
Excuse me, but this is your 4-minute warning. If you could try to wrap up in about 4 minutes so that we have a little bit of time for questions and answers. Sorry to do this.
Okay, the educational program are developed in simulations. What do we mean by that? It means that they are created in scenarios where we have tools, materials, supplies, where the protagonist stimulates the labor reality, where we have scenarios of learning, theory, didactic workshops, which respond to the formation. It's important when we talk about warmth and quality that there is a budget to guarantee materials and supplies for practical activities, and then also our offers in our technical careers are integrated with the learning of the English language, which strengthens and develops skills, because technical education programs are focused on cognitive and affective subjects, and they may contribute to comprehensive development. It's also important to share that from INATEC, we have the first national center to teach instructors. Very important to know that in the year 2016, this beautiful program started, where our teachers from the Ministry of Education and all the people who had a vocation to serve and who wants to strengthen their skills or become a teacher in technical education and capacitation may be a part of this program. Here we talk about pedagogical subjects, technology, soft skills, which are very important, which we must always continue to develop and perfect. And also, in this national center, we are in a process of upgrading, constantly upgrading, in order to guarantee that our teachers are able to develop a learning process that's comprehensive, because it's really important that we have 70 careers. Therefore, we have a number of professional qualifications. In the year 2006, the number of teachers were were empirical, and obviously an engineer before a classroom does not have the abilities to mediate because has not been trained as a teacher. And that's why the National Training Center is born in the year 2006. And from there, we have been perfecting the constantly updating and specializing our teachers.
I wanted to share some of our flagship programs with you. INATEC has been developing this with other government institutions. We already mentioned vocational training for work and life. The Ministry of Education and INATEC have been doing this to strengthen skills in order to promote a vocation to be involved in production or farming in various parts of the country. We also have a program to train craftspersons and business owners in Monimbo, the indigenous neighborhood of Masaya, and we've already been doing these activities, but we help them improve their skills. We also have the technical and technological training program named for Angelita Morales Avilés. This is done by brothers and sisters in the National Police who work with people to improve financial and technical skills and providing better service to our population. So that is human skills. We also have the Comandante Carlos Fonseca National Training Center, which helps public civil servants and people with disabilities. We also have the Zero Usury program, and here we help women develop their skills as entrepreneurs and management, leadership, innovation. Another beautiful program that started in 2023 is called Light and Truth to Learn and Prosper. This is geared toward Nicaraguan families that are still not literate. So INATEC is helping offer them various jobs, and simultaneously we are helping bring people out of darkness and allow these families to learn to read and write at the same time that they have a job. The municipal skills school, we work with the municipal authorities and take these training to the territories, and we find people. They're identified through the local governments, and INATEC is there, and we coordinate to try to encourage development of the economy. You also have the Augusto C. Sandino Rural Education, the technical education program. So this is part of the legacy, the living legacy of the general free men and women. So we want to strengthen production in our country and bring education to each corner of the country. And here we're letting our small, medium, and large farmers in the country learn agricultural techniques so they can produce better and make sure that their crops and their products so that their land has better yield, and also so that this can contribute. One of the key elements we're working on is to close the gap in the production chain. We are going to grow, we're going to transform, we're going to do marketing, and we're going to be in charge of the entire chain of production. So we're teaching skills in that regard as well. So it has been a pleasure to share the progress that we've made in these areas and in the transformation. We have not hit the ceiling yet. In education, there must be continuous evolution and transformation. The most important thing is that we have the political will and we have educational policies centered on human development. And this, we find this to be very moving, and it inspires us to continue contributing to the development and prosperity of Nicaraguan families. Thank you very much for listening, and a warm embrace to each and every one of you.
Thank you so much, Maria. I have a question for both of you, Juan first and then Maria. Because it's late and we want to allow a few questions, I'd like to ask both of you to respond very briefly and concretely. Obviously, both of you have a lot of experience in education. Juan, what is your greatest hope for Nicaragua in terms of education?
Una pregunta para un webinar completo.
And that's a question for a whole other webinar. As we said, the challenge is to ensure that our students, when they graduate, are better human beings. I want them to feel that their journey through our classrooms is an opportunity to learn and to develop, and which will allow them to prosper. We don't want to just transmit knowledge. We want education that transforms lives.
Maria?
Thank you, Juan. Maria?
Hola, nuevamente.
Hello
Bueno,
again.
nuestra lucha
Well, our
contra la pobreza.
ongoing struggle is against poverty. We are continuously fighting against poverty. We join efforts and are committed to that constant, permanent struggle against poverty. And our weapon is education. We want to continue to evolve and to transform. And the most important thing is our commitment, our motivation, and our vision, and our vocation for service, which cannot be put out. Enthusiasm has to be part of the recipe so that we have an impact and can contribute to the development of our country.
There is someone who is asking whether there are options for people from other countries to get involved with your educational system by, for example, teaching English as a second language or anything of that sort. Either person who'd like to answer that. Hello?
I would understand that the person is asking whether this individual could be one of our instructors.
Yes. Maybe come down and volunteer to teach English or something.
I think that this is perfectly possible. English as a second language, we only have in person right now. So we would need this individual to physically come down to Nicaragua, and we would have some training in the specialization. In fact, since this was a big gamble, we wanted to make sure that all of our high school students would study English. At a certain point, what we did was people who spoke English were given a training course in order to give them the pedagogical skills that would enable them to be effective teachers of English in the classroom. So I could get in touch with this person and look at the potential. I think that the hand of a friend is always welcome.
And
Thank you. Nan?
Someone has asked, and I'm sure this would be a very long response, so please keep it short and just a couple of items. What is done to help high school graduates who are not ready to go to college or who are not ready for college level courses? Either of you.
That is a very interesting question because we have been working with pedagogical accompany in the move from secondary to higher education. We've been holding workshops and meeting with instructors to see what the potential is. We also have visits from schools to the universities, first of all, to promote college studies, but also to link the two. I think that Maria and I were both talking about how we coordinate within the different subsystems of education. So within this coordination between primary and secondary education and higher education, we try to do this link to help students make the jump from the last year of high school to go on to university. We don't want them to feel it to be traumatic for us. The first thing that we do is make sure that each and every one of the students that graduate from high school are able to make the connection to the university, because we don't want them to stop their studies at high school. We want them to continue their education. This is precisely one of the things that the our articulation committee is looking at. Maria Esmeralda says, I'd also like to tell you that our educational programs within INATEC include creativity and design. And here, the student is shown the various options in order to continue their educational process and potential for getting into a business. So we look at important issues. For example, if this is a student from the farming sector, we tell them a little bit about how they could continue with that technical career. You could launch a business, and these are the jobs that are open, and this is what's available in the part of the country where you live, and you can continue your education because this career can be linked with the National Council on Universities, and there is coordination in terms of the content in the educational programs, and we link some of the technical careers with what's offered at the university. So these are other options we offer to students. And also, a person can continue to take complementary courses at INATEC and specialization courses or complementary courses. So we offer all of these options simultaneously if this student decides to continue their education. We also have collaboration between the universities in order so for them to get placed. We're not going to just look at a year, one semester. They go through an orientation process in terms of the technical career and vocation so that they can feel that they belong and that they are on their path. So we have various options. And in INATEC, we continue to strengthen our training process to make sure that people find content that's interesting to them. This is one of the challenges that we now have. 7 of our programs continue at the university level. Barbara.
This question is from James Polk. What options are there for adult education and ongoing lifelong learning in Nicaragua?
Thank you. Sorry. Forgive me, Salvador. Well, from INATEC, our offer is directed at the Nicaraguan families beginning at age 14, talking about the youth, adults. We don't have a cutoff to say at INATEC you can only study up to the age of 50. No, so we're talking about from the age 14, educational programs are open to all Nicaraguan families, intercultural disability. There is no discrimination based on age, sex, religion, political affiliation. For instance, there are no limitations. I, a Nicaraguan, want to be trained. I go to the INATEC, and then they go 70 technical career, more than 600 workshops that are available to the Nicaraguan families. So the opportunities are there when we're talking about learning for life and for all life. Our model is centered on the person. And in our formative process, from the pedagogical model, we work so that the protagonist feels that learning is useful for life, as they identify that learning is going to help them in the day-to-day life. They fall in love with the process, they finish it, and it changes their life, really. To complement a little bit what Maria Esmeralda says, we would like in our presentation to finish to say that education is political because it's in accordance with the political formation of a government. Daily, Comandante Daniel and Vice President Rosario They are talking about new academic offers to each segment of the population. We mean expansion of academic coverage so that in Nicaragua, from any place, from any status, they have an opportunity. Basic and mid education, they have different options we have bachelor's degree programs for adults. We talk about literacy programs, which it's in its pedagogy. We talk with elements and preconceived elements to teach adults based on the experiences they have so that they also may achieve through the different learning modalities that we offer. As Maria Esmeralda was saying, we have an educational offer for each segment of age and for any level of education of every Nicaraguan. There's not a person right now who does not have an option for education in Nicaragua. Quality, gratuitousness, and warmth is the way of our government of
Tengo
unity
tres
and reconciliation.
preguntas que breves para Juan.
I have 3 questions for Juan.
En las escuelas primarias hay
In
deportes
primary
o hay
schools,
educación
are there
física? La segunda es
sports
cómo se
or
hace
physical education?
sobre
Number 2,
problemas de
how do you handle
bullying.
bullying issues?
Y la tercera
And
es
question 3
si
is,
dan educación en
if you
contra
offer,
de racismo, por
do you
ejemplo, o en
offer
contra de discriminación
anti-racism
sobre
education or
personas gay,
education
lesbiana?
against LGBTQ
Tres muy buenas
discrimination?
preguntas. La primera se
Very
llama
excellent
educación
questions, all
física y
3. The
deporte,
first one,
que
physical and
incluye, ¿verdad?,
sports
varias
education is what we call it.
disciplinas y
It includes
también
several
tiene que ver
disciplines
con la
and
salud propia de
also
un ser
has to
humano.
do with
Yo
the health of
hablaba
human beings.
hace poco
I
también que tenemos,
was
por ejemplo, el ajedrez,
sharing
¿verdad?,
not long ago that we have
como
chess,
disciplina deportiva y como
chess
deporte de
as a
ciencia,
sports discipline
inclusive
and as a
desde
scientific
grado de
sport.
primaria, ¿verdad?
Starting
Tenemos
at
los juegos
3rd grade of
intramuros, le
primary school,
llamamos,
we
que son
have intramural
las ligas deportivas
sports,
entre colegios,
which are sports
que
leagues amongst
promovemos el
schools.
deporte en primaria y en
And
secundaria,
so we
porque creemos que
promote
son
the
sumamente
sports in primary and
importantes
secondary
para una
school.
vida sana.
We think it's
En
really important
cuanto
for
al
a
bullying,
healthy
tenemos
life.
algunos desentendimientos
Regarding
de la
bullying,
familia.
we
Hemos
call
trabajado
it
de manera completa con madres y
uh,
padres de familia.
issues with the
Nosotros
family. We work with
afortunadamente somos un
parents.
país muy
Unfortunately, we have a
honesto,
country
¿verdad?
that's
Tenemos
not
una
violent.
educación tranquilo
We
en las
have
aulas de clase,
peaceful
pero tenemos,
development
yo
in
les
our
hablaba hoy de
classrooms.
las
But
consejerías
I
de
was
la
saying today
comunidad educativa,
the
que es un movimiento que
council
aglutina
of
a
the
docentes,
educational
madres y
community
padres de familia y
uh,
estudiantes. Cuando
trains
este movimiento
students,
ha
teachers, and
logrado con
families
la
through this
participación de poco
movement,
más de
which was
150,000,
launched with
tenemos más de 270
participation of a little bit over
miembros de las consejerías de la
150,000
comunidad
people.
educativa,
We have
que
people
entre
within
todas las
these
cosas que hacen
councils of the
justamente es
educational
promover
community, which,
ambientes de paz
among other
y de
things, they
tranquilidad.
promote
Tenemos un
peaceful
plan de trabajo con nuestra Policía Nacional
environments. We have a
que año
work
con
plan
año
with our national
actualizamos,
police,
de
which
forma
year by
permanente
year we
tenemos el
launch.
acompañamiento con ellos.
And so
Gracias a Dios,
we have
¿verdad?
their
Nicaragua no
company in
tiene
these programs.
pandillas.
Thank God,
Siempre
Nicaragua
hay
has no
un conflicto que puede haber entre unos estudiantes y otros,
gangs.
igual
There are
los jóvenes,
always,
pero no
conflicts
tenemos
among
nosotros
students
en
because they're young
Nicaragua
people, but we don't
grupos
have in
delincuenciales
Nicaragua
organizados de forma tal de
delinquent
que
groups that are
el bullying
organized.
se da sobre todo
Therefore,
cuando
the
hay un
bullying
desentendimiento que puede
occurs
haber en el aula de
based
clase
on
y trabajamos con una
issues between
metodología que en
people in the
Nicaragua nos ha
classroom.
dado
And
muchos
so we use this
resultados, que
methodology in
son las
Nicaragua
guías,
that has
que son
yielded
unos
a lot of
libritos pequeños con información
good
clave
results, which
para
are
trabajar aspectos como
cards
el
that
bullying,
have
de
key
igual
important
manera para
information to
trabajar
treat
aspectos como la
issues such as
discriminación.
bullying
Tenemos muy
and things like
pocos
discrimination. We have
reportes de
very little
discriminación o de
reports
racismo
of
en nuestras escuelas,
discrimination or racism in our
prácticamente es
schools.
nulo. Sin embargo, sí
Practically, it's
trabajamos
non-existent.
sobre lo
However,
que es
yes, we do
respeto
work
a la diversidad
on
de las
respect
personas en
of
cuanto a su
diversity of
idiosincrasia, su
people,
cultura, su
having
creencia,
to do with
su condición social,
idiosyncrasy, their
sus
culture,
preferencias
their
sexuales.
beliefs,
Y
their
también tenemos una
sexual preferences,
cartilla
etc.
que trabaja
And
sobre
we
los
also
derechos
have
de las comunidades
a
LGTB, que
part
mi
that
derecho a
works on
elegir
the
cómo voy a
rights of the
respetar esa
LGBTQ
ley. Es
communities
decir, desde cada
to
uno de los
respect their
aulas de clase
rights. And so in
trabajamos
each and every one of
sobre
the
todo
classrooms we
entendido lo
work,
que es el respeto a la dignidad
especially
humana, el respeto a los derechos humanos,
around
entre
the
ellos el derecho a
respect of
elegir.
human dignity, among
Gracias.
them the right to
Ahí quería
choose.
complementar que
Thank
además
you.
por
I
el
wanted to
país,
complement
¿verdad?
that
A nivel de
besides
país,
the
nosotros
country,
trabajamos
at a
con
national level,
promover
at a country
unas
level, we work to
cartillas que le
promote
denominamos
this cards, which we name cards for harmonious life. This is across the entire educational system in our country, which has sensitive subjects such as disability, the sexual orientation, bullying, uh, the the role of women, protagonist role of women. And this is not only work with students, but also with families, with the educational community in general, to be able to have an impact. And that is one of the important policies of our government to strengthen that type of capacity. I also want to share a little bit that from INATEC, we promote the ludic formation. We have different programs for boys and girls to be able to share, to be able to develop these formational activities. And we have sports leagues, national level. Boys and girls, our academics, our teachers are sharing uh, through sport, through culture. We have a sports center, Jose Coronel Statue, which is designed to strengthen the first technological center, which strengthens capacities in terms of culture, dance, design, in terms of people who are passionate about painting, which strengthens the skills to strengthen the Nicaraguan culture. Also, we wanted to share that with boys, we develop innovation programs. There's a national program that promotes the collaboration, the cooperation. We promote for them to be able to become integrated with other students from other careers so that we can avoid discrimination on race, on sexual orientation, other ideologies. And this is one of the tools, extracurricular activities that help the technical development and soft skills. And this is all having to do with the integral model that we have, which is part of this historical program that we have in the different educational centers in the nation.
Barbara?
Okay, yes, oh, I don't know why my hand is raised. Sorry, ignore that. We're going to make this, I think, the final two questions, and then we'll allow after you answer these questions, a moment for each of you to say anything else that you'd like to share as your final words. These two questions that I'm asking are kind of related. They both have to do with Nicaragua's relationship with the countries right around Nicaragua in Central America. One is, I saw one article that there are some young people from surrounding countries that if they're living close enough to Nicaragua, that they are actually choosing to attend Nicaraguan schools because they regard them as superior. And I'm wondering how widespread is that phenomenon? And second, there's a question here from Rachel Munoz. Are there exchanges between teachers in other countries for sharing learning, either content or educational practices?
Very well. Our educational system is open to anyone who wants to learn. We have had a few experiences in the border areas in which there is migration of children who cross the border in order to attend Nicaraguan schools. This is not governed by any treaty or agreement. It's just part of border life. We are brother and sister countries, and our government's policy is one of respect for our brothers and sisters in the neighboring countries. If a citizen comes from another neighboring country, then our classrooms are open to them. What was the other question? I can't remember it right now. What was your second question? She was asking whether there were any exchanges. Yes, right. I think that one of the positive elements, if you might call it that, left by the crisis of the pandemic is that we were able to develop the use of the tool that we're on right now, webinars, Zoom, and all of that. So in our work model right now, we have almost monthly meetings for open learning opportunities with the participation of specialists from throughout the country. So we have these meetings with colleagues and friends from Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, and even from the United States. And we exchange the experience of Nicaragua, but we also learn from the experiences they have in other countries. We do this on a monthly basis, and we do it on various subjects. For me, for example, one of my responsibilities is to work on school security. So we have an exchange with ministries of education of other countries, Chile, Argentina, as I said, on the subject of school safety. So, yes, one of the advantages of the globalized world is that we are able to have exchanges with our brother and sister countries to make sure that our educational process continues to evolve. Maria Esmeralda, I'd also like to share with you that we were talking about technical training in Nicaragua, which is free of charge and is available to families starting at age 14. And so this is aimed at everyone who wants to improve their own practices. In terms of exchanges, we could highlight that we have various agreements for collaboration, MOUs with various countries and important topics related to education, how we're going to transform it, how we see the landscape in technical training in Latin America, how technical training has really taken off in our country, how the contributions it makes and how to make it more dynamic and to allow it to evolve to continue to transform our society. We have very good relationships. We are men and women who are very enthusiastic and highly committed and also quite assertive. We are brothers and sisters who like to share our knowledge and also like to learn from other people. And so we do have different spaces for collaboration. We have different internship programs for our teachers with value added technology, pedagogy, mediation, and how we can transform the work of teachers. And we also are trying to anticipate the 2030 agenda. And so we have collaboration with our brother and sister republics, and we continue to be open to these exchanges and to learning together and also to unlearn some things.
Thank you. Thank you both of our featured speakers for wonderful presentations. And now we're going to ask if you have any final words you'd like to leave us with. Let's start with Juan and then go to Maria.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for this opportunity to share with you and with anyone who can watch this webinar a little bit about this small country with a big heart. We are a country that has a great vocation for peace, for love, a country with open doors, and thank God we now have a government that is committed and convinced that education is a fundamental tool to overcome the only true enemy of Nicaragua, which is poverty. A country that is convinced of the importance of education and sees this as a tool to achieve the full human development of each and every Nicaragua. Ours is a country with open doors, and we are always ready to welcome you, welcome the warmth and sisterhood and brotherhood of all the peoples of the world. Maria Esmeralda, we also thank all of the brothers and sisters who are connected to this event today and who have been able to listen to us, and we hope we have answered some of your questions. These kinds of spaces are so important for you to learn about what we are doing, what our commitments are, what our vocation is, and also the grandeur of our good government that has devoted so much to education, which is continuously transforming, evolving, and designing educational programs for the full human development of the Nicaraguan people. That is the single path. It is education free of charge and high quality. It's not just education, but the various programs, health education, building roads and infrastructure. It's so wonderful to come to this country and find people who have big hearts and a great vocation for work, people who are working and struggling. Our historic struggle has been against poverty. Our heroes and martyrs have fought and continue to fight against poverty in order to achieve the human development of our country. We're hardworking men and women. And a warm embrace to all of you, brothers and sisters. I invite you to come and visit the INATEC website, particularly where we have the map .INATEC Nacional. There you can find highly relevant information with everything having to do with education and technical and technological education in our country. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Again, thank you to both of you and to everyone else who participated, both in the audience and to our interpreters, to Yoav, Nan. We'll say goodbye for now, but we appreciate the time you've taken, and indeed a little bit of extra time beyond the 90 minutes originally planned. Goodbye for now, and we will send out the webinar recordings and the presentations. Thank you. Bye.